So the best underrated advice I got would be that smart reading is really important in law school. Like, I was very careful. Like I was ensuring that I was reading in such a way and manner that I found it easy to remember the things I was reading. Like I wasn't just reading wild without any direction. I was reading with precision. So I was very strategic in my reading basically. And like two persons gave me that advice about not making use of bulky textbooks and all that too much. Basically, when I saw the past person, I understood why they gave that advice because I realized that law school doesn't require so much of story. I knew that I just needed to be very smart because at the end of the day, you just need to write very brief in the exam, not extremely brief, but at least reasonably brief, and you just need the right amount of knowledge. Yeah, so what would surprise people about how I studied would be number one, that I didn't make use of textbook. So all of my results was a product of not using textbook, like using lecturer slides and materials. I didn't make use of textbook. So when I tell people that I was not using textbook, it felt really strange, like you mean you're not using textbook at all. Then another thing I would say would be that I never read for long hours stretch. I'm not sure I read for 4 hours in one sitting. It's very rare. Usually I read for just a few hours, like two hours probably. I'll take a break. Sometimes I read for just 30 minutes, stand up, take a break, come back. So I was always taking breaks. I think that's one thing I was always taking breaks.
Honest advice, I would say, as unbelievable and as cliche as it may sound, you just have to keep moving. Right? Law school will come and it will go, and you know the grade that you desire from law school. You have to put in the work. That's undisputable. You have to put in the work, but it's tough. There are days when you would want to like bargain. Like this first class, do I really how badly do I want it? If I make a 2-1, it's fine. A 2-2 is fine, right? It does not define your trajectory in the career. But you know what you want. It requires, the vigor, it requires the work. And even though you feel discouraged at this point, even though you're exhausted, you're drained, you just have to keep going. It will be worth it at the end. You want to look back at all of these days, you want to look back at all of this work that you're putting into, and you want to feel a certain sense of gratitude at the end of the day. So just keep going. And as unbelievable as it may sound, be okay, you'll be fine. Believe in your capabilities, believe in, your intelligence, you're smart enough for this. So just keep going. My name is Ojuko Timitaya Victoria. I attended Adekunle Ajasin University, Akumba Akoko, and I obtained my LLB there with a second class honors degree, upper division. Attended the Port Harcourt campus of the Nigerian Law School, where I graduated with a first class honors. I was awarded the prize for the best graduating student in criminal litigation, 2 prizes for that, and then the Director General's Prize for first class graduate. I just knew that law school was tough and it would be so demanding of me. But the truth is, the reality when I got into law school, I don't think I was prepared for what I faced in law school. To be very honest, law school is like regimented. You're going to class 9 to 2 every day. I had asked to all of these questions that I solved on my own multiple times. So I think that kind of prepared me for exam situation. In answering those questions, I just made sure that I answered them satisfactorily. Answer the questions in the way that would impress them. Externship was like the best period of the whole law school experience for me, for the reason that I had, access to persons from all other campuses. I had colleagues from all the other campuses that I was able to relate with. And so we would usually have discussions after court session and after we were done for our activities for the day. So we'd usually go through one another's tasks. We'd go through tasks together, tasks from, across all the campuses, including my campus. We're interacting, we're learning things. I was learning things that their own lecturers told them. We're sharing insights, exchanging experiences. I'm not in Lagos, for instance. I did not attend Lagos, but at least I had access to some of the tips that lecturers shared with them in Lagos, that lecturers in Abuja shared with students in the Abuja campus. That worked so well for me. Just approach law school with an open mind. A lot of people have gone to law school and they are no different from you. Whatever results you desire out of law school, There are people that have gone to law school that have done it. They are no different from they are humans like you. So I'd encourage people that will be getting to law school to just approach law school with an open mind. It's a fresh beginning, it's a fresh slate for you, and you'll be fine. You will be fine. You will honestly be fine.
My name is Oluwabusayo Ifolaja. I'm a double first class lawyer. I graduated from Nigerian University of Nigeria, Abuja, as the valedictorian overall best graduating student of the class of 2023 with a perfect CGPA of 5.0. I went further to earn a first class grade at Nigerian Law School. I was at Lagos campus, and I also doubled as the overall best graduating student of the class of 2024 with over 18 awards. So while I was at Nigerian Law School, I had a schedule towards a particular destination, right? So I looked at the course load and I divided them into different times. So that was the first step towards preparing for bar finals. So a week before the exam, all I was just doing was just to look at the papers of all campuses, what were the questions. I tried to answer them. A few weeks to the exam was just more of housekeeping and also trying to answer as many questions as I could to prepare me for the exams. The method that works for you while at university, you don't need to particularly change it. While at Nigerian Law School, you just need to refine it and make it better. Your class notes are your number one authority because they are coming directly from the lecturers who have the knowledge of the current position of the law. Besides, it's these lecturers that mark your scripts and eventually grade you.
Solo. I was told to rest, but I didn't. None. A crying and laughing emoji. I wish I packed sweaters. Kano was cold. It was daunting. I prayed and I looked at my pre-class tasks.
The most underrated advice: sleep, eat. Because if you don't sleep, oh my God.
God have mercy upon us.
I used to legit sleep at least 2 hours before all of my exam papers. Because I didn't want to go into the exam hall feeling stressed. I wanted to go in feeling relaxed. So I always slept at least 2 hours before my exam. So sleep if you can. Your body needs it. Your body really needs it. My name is Vivian Boji. I attended Imo State University, where I finished with upper second class honors. I also attended the Nigerian Law School in Enugu campus, where I made a first class grade. I am also a recipient of the Director General's Prize for attaining a first class, and I am also the third best graduating student from Enugu campus. When I found out that I was going to be joining the backlog set, I did ask some of my senior colleagues what I should do in order to properly navigate law school. And one advice that stuck with me was that I should start studying from the very first day. And that was exactly what I did. Prepping for bar finals was not easy. I knew that I had to re-strategize and double down on some things. I had to let go of my materials. That was the first thing I did. My textbooks, everything else, and strictly read my notes. Because I used to make notes. So I read my notes that I made from my slides and class notes and those materials because I used to make notes. So I would strictly focus on the notes, and that was really, really helpful for me. Something else that I did was reading past questions and reading the pre-class tasks that we had already solved in class. So I was mostly just going through the answers. Whenever you do MCQs, the probability of you failing that question again becomes very, very slim. Because when you do MCQs a lot, it even helps you understand your essay work and your theory. It's like it gives you a wider and better understanding of your essay work. So those currently in law school who feel like they are not doing enough, I just want you to know that it means that your standard is high. It means you have really high standards. And when you should even be afraid is when you feel like you're doing enough. So if you feel like you're not doing enough, it means that you can put in more work and that you can keep going and that you're not going to give up. And trust me, the information is storing somewhere in your head. And when you need it, it's definitely going to come out. Speaking from experience, I think almost everyone who has been through law school have felt that they were not doing enough. Even till the last day of exams, I didn't even feel like I was doing enough. So yeah, just keep going and eventually everything is going to work out as planned. I know of someone that I watched her story on Young VIP TV who said she answered only 10 questions in her property law practice and she made it first class. 10 questions and she was still able to make it first class. So if anything is doable, you just have to not give up. Keep going. You can do this and I believe in you.
One moment from law school that I will never forget was the night before our corporate law exam. So our corporate law exam was the last exam that we wrote in that bar final week. And I had not gotten enough rest throughout that week. I was pulling all nighters for the other courses. And then it happened that on that night, I tried to read, but it felt like my brain was, experiencing a shutdown. I couldn't read, I couldn't recall what I had read, and I tried to sleep, I couldn't sleep. I was worried, I had panic attacks that my exams were literally the next morning and I could not get any information in my head. So somehow I managed all through the night. I walked around the hostel, cried, I prayed, and then the morning came. I was only able to read a few topics. I was able, because my original intention was to cover the entire syllabus the night before being my final reading, but I was not able to. I left my hostel to go to the exam hall. Then it happened that the question papers came late. They were not available as at the time that was stipulated for the exam. So I decided to stay in mosque, I and some other persons, to continue our reading pending when they would bring the question papers. So it happened that they had already brought the question papers and we did not know, we were not informed. We had some persons outside the mosque whom we had already told to inform us. I mean, when they see the lecturers carrying the booklets and all that, but nobody told us anything. So we got to know that the exams had started about 20 minutes after it had already started. And then we rushed to the hall. At the entrance, the vigilators were there, and to punish us, they stopped us outside. I mean, they did not allow us in. They were like, oh, where have you guys been and all that. So we stayed there for a few minutes before we were allowed to enter into the hall. As at this time, I was really, really worried, and I was almost crying because I knew that corporate law was something that I struggled with so much in law school, and I read it more than any other course. And very lucky for me, I was able to complete all the questions within time. Although there was one part where I almost missed out on 2 questions. I don't know, I forgot to flip the question paper to see that there were still 2 other questions. So I could have missed out on those questions, but very thankfully, about 10 minutes to the end of the exam, I discovered and I wrote it. And alhamdulillah, with all this, I still emerged as the best student in the same corporate law practice.
I think this one is probably a sum of all of it. I was shocked and I laughed, we laughed. This was the day of revision, the last revision, very last revision for property law. And then this lecturer is a senior lecturer. He came from, I think, Kano campus. And we wrote our paper and was trying to make corrections. And then we got to a question, and the answer he gave was different from anything that I'd ever heard in my life. And I was shocked because it's just few weeks, like 2 weeks to bar finals, and I'm just finding out.
You were not informed too?
You're trying to tell me that all of those studies, all of those things that I've been doing, I did not quite understand this thing. And if you asked me before that day, I would say I understand this. I understand wheels. The part was on wheels and mortgage, and the answer he gave was different from anything that ever heard.
Are you playing? What type of playing is this?
And then when we got to the floor, my roommates and I, we laughed. Like,
continue.
You're telling me 2 weeks to bar finance, you could literally count down to the day. You're just getting to know this. Law school. You just keep discovering things. But then I was also very grateful because, thank God thank God he came, and then at least I have this understanding. And, it sort of made me, I was distracted at that point, right? Because I was questioning all the things that I thought I knew. Like, do I actually know these things? Do I really know these things?
You 2 minutes!
But yeah, I'm grateful that happened. It kind of humbled me, right? It was humbling. And, I knew that I had to, do much work in my revision and be thorough to be sure that I understand what law school wants me to understand.
You're not alone. I felt this way too many times. I had plenty moments of self-doubt and feelings like, can I survive this place? Can I make it? But the good thing is that you do not really know the extent of your preparation until you are put to test. You do not know how much information you've already absorbed and how ready you are for the exams until you are in that moment, right? So I would say that you should be consistent. You should continue to do what you are doing. If there are any areas that you need to improve on, please work on them. And then, to be honest, law school, in retrospect now, when we were in law school, it felt like, that was like the hardest thing in the world. But I'm not going to say that law school is not hard. It was hard for me. It was hard for many other persons as well. Just continue and have faith in what you do and in your preparations. You are more ready than you think you are.
Hi, my name is Kosisochi Vanessa Uzoho. I am an attorney and feminist. I finished from the university with a second class upper, and I finished from law school with a first class, emerging as third best graduating student overall, best graduating female student, best student in criminal litigation, and I won a total of 9 prizes, including the Director General's Prize for first class students. So I did 2 major things to prepare for law school. The first thing was I spoke to people who had just finished from law school. I think I also did speak to other people, including people who didn't make a first class, to just know what their law school experience was like, what to expect. And I think that helped me because I didn't go to law school entirely unprepared. Things went too strange as I experienced them. The next thing is that I went to law school with the mindset that this is a very stressful endeavor that I am about to undertake, which means that nothing else, absolutely nothing else was allowed to stress me. And with that in mind, I tailored everything. And the reality was that law school was 100 times more stressful than I expected. Even with all my questions, even with all the conversation, even with all the mental preparations and emotional preparations I tried to do, law school was a lot. It was so emotionally stressful for me. I was always sad, I was always crying. Law school is just so much information that you had to understand and assimilate well enough to write in an exam within, especially my set, backlog sets, we didn't even have the full time. So I stopped with what I know, early mornings, daytime, tried to push myself as much as I could. I bought a lot of textbooks when I got to law school, but honestly, I didn't really use them. I mostly use them as reference materials. But if I'm being honest, there's some courses I didn't even touch at all, like criminal litigation. There was no need for that textbook. The slides in Port Harcourt campus were more than enough, so I was just using using the slides. But the hard copy book I know I used the most was Kama, because Dr. Abe was very insistent that we use it, but also because it turned out to be quite helpful. Mostly what I studied was somebody's notes. When you start law school, there'll be a lot of links, a lot of Google Drives going around. I remember just clicking on one of those Google Drives and using somebody's notes. At some point, I was using her notes and I was trying to make my own, but eventually I stopped trying to make my own. Somebody has made the note, just use their note and don't waste your time. I will say that the most important things, in my opinion, are drafts, MCQs, and tasks. For drafts, obviously, there's no two ways about it. You have to practice drafts. You cannot read drafts. Like, no matter how much reading you do, you have to actually practice the drafts. Because drafts are marked sort of line by line, right? They pay attention to structure and all those things. So you have to make sure that you're actually practicing the drafts and knowing them as they are, right? Drafts is not a test of knowledge, it's a test of remembrance. So please practice your drafts.
Was it that my phone was stolen? It stood out for me because my phone was stolen. Like, it was crazy. I woke up one morning, I wanted to look at my pre-class tasks after I prayed, and I checked my phone where I charge. I plugged it to charge, and it wasn't there.
Wow.
I had 2 other roommates. I had to wake one up. I'm like, okay, do you take my phone or something? And he was like, no. And I said, okay, can you call my phone? And he checked his phone, and his phone wasn't there. I had to now wake up the last person, and I asked him if he took the phone. He didn't take the phone, and I asked him to call mine, and his phone wasn't there.
Emotional, damn it.
So someone came in the night, cleared our phones, just like that. It was, at that point, I was like, it's not true. Maybe someone is doing a prank on us or something. But then, yes, it wasn't a prank. Our phones were stolen, and it was crazy. Like, it didn't dawn on me till later. I was like, wait, actually, my phone was stolen. So it was so crazy to me. And I'm laughing about it, but then it wasn't funny at all. But then, yeah, for up to a month, I didn't have a phone in law school. And if you go to law school without a phone, you know it is, people that have gone will know, testify you had that, how impossible that is. But then I did it, and after I got a phone, it became better. But then, yeah, that moment actually stood out for me because it was just a difficult time for me in law school. But then I prevailed over that. Okay, my name is Munachimso Ochiabuto. I went to the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, and I finished with a first class. And I went ahead to the Nigerian Law School, Kano campus, and I finished the first class, and as the best graduating student of the campus, and also as the 13th best student out of over 7,000 students that start for the examination. I earned the Director General's Prize for a first class in the Nigerian Law School. The most difficult part of law school for me was to remember my cases. I had an issue learning my draft. I had a lot of tough days in law school because I'm a slow reader. I don't read fast. So what someone may finish in one day, I may take 3 days to finish. But then God's grace is going to aid something. So I read a lot. I put in a lot of hard work, and that was how I overcame the pressures, like reading, talking to people, and praying. If you get good roommates in law school, you've solved 50% of your problem in law school. Finance has a very big place in law school, so anyone that tells you otherwise is a liar. I was told this, but then I didn't pay attention. So I'm going to tell you now, please, before law school, rest. I was told to rest, but I didn't rest. I was reading law school materials, and the material I was using, most of the positions have been changed, but then I was just reading it. So when I got into law school, I felt that I didn't have to do all that. I would have used my time to do other things. You can rest. When you start law school, you face the journey head on. But then before law school, my advice is for you to rest. You don't need to go into all that. You can deal with that when law school starts. Close to bar finals, I didn't argue. Close to bar finals, I stopped sleeping late. I streamlined my reading. I focused on what I had already read before.
Truly, I think my most memorable moment in law school that I won't forget is it happened on our cocktail. So that is DG's cocktail, that is a farewell cocktail. where all law school students, converge at a particular point or at a particular spot, and it was farewells and goodbyes. It was goodbyes to lots of persons that you might never see for a long time, and it was farewell to meet again to people that are still within close quarters. But it definitely did leave us brimming with a sizable breadth of emotions, and yeah, I think for me that would be a very profound moment. The ties that you had come to know, the network you had come to build. Basically, law school told us that our tenancy was over, and yeah, it was quite a moment for us. Quite a moment for me. I really felt emotional. So yeah.
One very particular moment which will forever be etched into my memories was at the last day of the Nigerian Law School, and prior to that we had written a pre-bar exam, so it's a mock exam which prepares you towards the actual exam, and then the prize giving ceremony was on the last day of law school, the last day where we wrote the last bar finals. After the exam, the whole celebration was in the mood of celebration, and we just gathered at the class where it was going to happen. And then they were giving awards for, people who had contributed in various things like group leaders, multi-more competition, and the pre-bar exams that we wrote. As they called each person, the applause, the clap, and the appreciation from, various persons, they first called me because I was a group leader, where they awarded me, certificate of recognition as a group leader. There was a very warm welcome from my colleagues. Not only people from my group applauded me, but everybody in the whole class. I was also called upon because I was the second best counsel in the civil mock trial, and that also came with another form of applause. But the one particular moment that, the video is on X. Yeah, somebody posted it there. And it was a moment where they called me as the best in the pre-bar exams. And before then, they had called the third best, they called the second best, and they were about to call the first best. I know the usual way of them, trying to taunt you with, who the person is, and they were like, who is the person? And then just surprisingly, people started calling, Busayo. And then they hadn't called me then. I was like, what's going on? And they eventually called the person, and it was me. And I was coming from the back. So I sit at the very back of the class. So I was coming from the back, trying to find my way to get to the podium. And as I was walking past, then, the applause started to increase, became thunderous. I started to chant my name, Busayo, stuff like that. And then I've never seen such sort of recognition in my whole life. And, till today, it's just a moment that I can never forget.
My name is Benedict Ate. I attended Benue State University and I got my law degree with first class honors. I also attended the Nigerian Law School, Bari campus, where I also got first class honors. I was awarded the best student in property law practice, the best student in professional ethics and skills. That is the best student in 2 courses. I was also the best male student of the year, as well as the overall best student of the year. Throughout my law school journey, I made sure that I rested a lot. I made sure that taking a nap was a part of my everyday schedule. After classes, I made sure I slept, and then I made sure that I was never hungry during law school. I ate a whole lot, and I just took care of myself as best as I could, because I believe that beyond what you are able to read, beyond what you know, how you feel, your mental health is actually really important during law school. And when I felt overwhelmed to some extent, I usually spoke to friends, shared my experiences, how I was feeling, and of course, that made me better. Throughout my law school journey, there was never a day that I did what they call TDB, right? TD break reading. I never did that. And that actually made a difference. For anyone applying to the Nigerian Law School, I think you should just relax, right? And be open to the law school experience. And please have no fear of it. There's nothing to be afraid of in law school. It just requires hard work, it just requires discipline, it just requires consistency. What I would advise is that just find a resource that is actually comprehensive, that has what has been taught, and make sure to go through it very well, make sure to master the topics. I actually discovered very late that the handbook is actually a very good resource. I don't know why a lot of students don't talk about it. The persons that I reached out to, the videos I watched, the articles I read, nobody really mentions the handbook, but I think it's a very good resource. It's short, it's condensed, and of course, it's prepared by the law school, who are examiners, right? The Council of Legal Education, and that's the approach that I used. And of course, I think it was effective.
Hi, I am Mariam Lawal, and I attended Lagos State University, where I finished with the first class. I attended the Nigerian Law School Port Harcourt campus, and I also finished with the first class. I was the best female graduating student, the second best graduating student overall, and the best student in corporate law practice. It does not matter how much you've read or had, nothing prepares you for what you eventually meet when you get there. So you cannot fully understand law school until you experience it. In the first few weeks, I was so lost and confused. I remember that I'd leave each class feeling like, can I survive here? Like, can I actually do this? But then it got better. I mean, the third, fourth week, I was getting used to the system and all that. I'd wake up very early to pray. And then when I finished praying, I would read until like 8:30. So our classes starts by 9. So I used to have this thing in my head that, okay, after praying, I would read until 8:30. Then I'll have just 30 minutes to prepare for class. My MCQ questions, I had already been practicing them like long before then. So I only intensified my efforts on them. And then I focused more on the topics that I was having challenges with. I read them over and over. There were some that, I later grasped their concept, but there were some that, I tried until I got into the exam hall, answering the questions the way the lecturers want them to be answered. So for every question, I answered them exhaustively. I answered all the angles that they were to every question. I took it upon myself to answer like a full year question, handwrite them, the 6 questions for all the 5 courses. Then I showed them to my lecturer for his corrections. And he told me, okay, this is how you should structure it. This should come before this. MCQs were not something you would ordinarily know just for reading your books. You need to actively prepare for them because there's so much that goes into it. You need to understand the tricks that come with the question sometimes. So, and then the exam conditions under which you write MCQs, you have just 1 hour to answer 100 questions. So you need to practice and practice it before the day.
The pace of assimilation, right? So I think that's something that many persons have commended and been wowed about. How I do it is, even prior to when I lost my sight, I think I've always been one with this photographic memory. So be it something that has been listened to or something that was seen back in the day when I was in the other phase. So basically anything of my 5 sense organs, once I perceive it, once I have an interaction or connection with anything, yeah, it kind of just sticks and all. So. Ugochukwu Ojeri. Yeah, Ugochukwu is my colleague, yeah, brother, yeah. The best mental health tip that worked for me was just splitting things a bit, just mixing it up. Don't just be on one lane. Sometimes even when you're reading civil, it appears that first, second paragraph of emotion that you're trying to cram is not entering. Sometimes just leave there and go to RPC and go and learn maybe confidentiality or conflict of interest. Sometimes just take your mind off what you're intending to assimilate at that point in time. It can help. So that's one thing that I tried. Or even if you want to go outside the facets of law, you can just do something, maybe read a quick news or scroll on IG or check something funny on TikTok or something, yeah. Just mix it up a bit. It helps take your mind off what you're trying to do or struggling to do. And when you get back at it, you find out that it might be easier. I think that's the feeling, but to put it in words, it's It was really a profound experience of the academics, the people I met, the experiences, the sad times, the high times, the very good food at law school. I would not take ethics for a play. I'll read my ethics better and not underestimate any course.
And the name of my donor is Mrs. Hara Adepadogu.
That experience is very relatable because the first time I felt that way, in fact, was towards the end of externship. I'd finished reading the entire syllabus and I attempted past questions and I couldn't answer all the questions. In fact, it was so bad. But when we wrote bar finals, a lot of the answers I wrote in bar finals was from residual knowledge. Like, you don't know that what you're reading now is just saving somewhere in your memory. And when a demand is made of it, you'll be surprised that those things will come out. So feeling exhausted in law school is second nature. You can't help it. Feeling inadequate, as if you're not doing enough, that's very relatable and that's expected. In fact, if you're in law school and you feel like you've gotten the hang of it, I'll say you're veering off the off track. So being in law school, being exhausted, just keep doing it, keep going on, keep grinding, and think about the end. Like when you get your red scroll, all the stress that you've been through in the past will just be bygone.
I have so many moments in Nigerian Law School that really stood out for me. But I think one that would always be the top on chart would have to be the time in criminal litigation I was called out to answer a question for an hour. So I was sitting down after class had finished, preparing for the pre-class tasks for them to do the review. And as always, I was chatting with people around me. And the next thing I heard was Group 3 leader, they are calling you. Unknown to me, backstory was that they were just calling for someone in Group 3. But as my group members are, they gave me off. So I had climbed the stage and got into where he was calling me. Because I wasn't listening, I didn't know what it was for. And next thing they said, oh, your group was the best group in criminal litigation under armed forces law. We want you to answer the question underneath it. It was a shocker to me because I'd never climbed on stage as at that time to answer any question. Secondly, this question was question 3 that had 10 babies. It can't be one person that will answer everything. But as we have it, I stood on the stage and I answered the first question, and the man was really impressed and he just told me, continue. At a point I was like, no, I can't be the one answering everything. But yes, that day I stood on the stage, answered the question for over an hour. The man required me to give cases, sections, and all I could remember was what we learned in class that day. But I was able to answer it. Very impressive that the man even had to say I did very well. But after standing on that stage for 1 hour, the whole class was chanting, everyone was clapping, everyone was amazed at how I performed. And that day still stands out for me because that day started the many more days that I was always called upon to answer questions. But more than anything was that day proved 2 things to me. It proved to me that I was on track. I was at a point where I felt maybe I wasn't doing enough, maybe I wasn't good enough. But answering those questions on that stage for 1 hour without having to look at any book just showed me that I was on the right path. Secondly was that it proved to me that nothing was impossible. All I need to do was keep my mind open and God will make a way. Thank you.
I think the day I won the RPC challenge at the Enugu campus, I felt so good. I felt so good because I had to memorize all the rules the night before. Especially the new ones they added. And I won a wig and gown, and I was really, really, really so happy. I'll never forget that day. think the day I won the RPC challenge at the Enugu campus, I felt so good. I felt so good because I had to memorize all the rules the night before. Especially the new ones they added. And I won a wig and gown. And I was really, really, really so happy. I'll never forget that day.
My name is Ojuko Timitaya Victoria. I attended Adekunle Ajasin University, Akunba Akoko, and I obtained my LLB there with a second-class honors degree, upper division. I attended the Port Harcourt campus of the Nigerian Law School, where I graduated with a first class. I was awarded the prize for the best graduating student in criminal litigation, 2 prizes for that, and then the Director General's Prize for first class graduates. I'd always wanted to be a lawyer. You know, when you're in primary school, you have those career days. Like, my costume would always be the lawyer costume, and then when I got to know better, right, when it was time to choose between going to science class, art class, I knew I wanted to go to art class to study to be a lawyer. I knew that was just what I wanted to do. I had a gap here between the year that I graduated and resumption to the Nigerian Law School. So that 1 year, I had internships. When you're interning, you interact with lawyers, you ask them questions and all of that. Before entering law school, I just knew that law school was tough and it would be so demanding of me. But I had conversations with my cousin who is a lawyer and, asked for some tips, asked her how the experience was. And then I was also very much concerned about my campus. With law school, you'll be asked to pick 2 campuses, but at the end of the day, the decision is theirs. But the truth is, the reality when I got into law school, I don't think I was prepared for what I faced in law school. I've never done anything like that, to be very honest. And I don't even think that, that information I had about, law school is tough, law school is this and that, I was not really prepared for, the reality of it. Law school is different from uni. I attended a public uni. And with that, at least you're in charge of a lot of things. Law school is like regimented. You're going to class 9 to 2 every day. Law school was a lot, if I could put it that way. I was not prepared for it. I was just not prepared enough for it.
Hi, I am David Ode. I graduated from Benue State University as the best graduating student of my law class with a second class upper, and I attended the Nigerian Law School Enugu campus, where I graduated with the first class and also as the second best graduating student in professional ethics and skills, and also as the best graduating student male category of Enugu campus. I didn't start reading until week 7 because I just felt I was in the wrong place. Just there I was gloating, calling people, complaining about everything on campus. But someone had just told me, deal with it. Even before going to law school, I would have gone to law school with that mindset. So throughout law school, I did all my pre-class tasks personally, by hand. It was a stressful process, but seniors advised that, okay, you just start, because you would write bar finals, you won't type bar finals. So seniors advised practice your drafts by hand, answer questions by hand. So seeing that other persons have done this same thing, and then the assurance that I could do it. And one platform that provided numerous persons that have done this law school program successfully is the Young VIP TV. I always went there to just listen to seniors, other red scrollers, explain their story, just motivate. So that's made a difference for me mentally. You won't get the campus you want, and whatever campus you find yourself in, just roll with it. Exam preparation for bar finals, it was dynamic for me. I kept changing. What I stopped, arguments. What I doubled up was reading my pre-class tasks. Again, try to balance study groups with personal studies. At no point my theory should your time with your study group, overlap your personal study time. A moment I'll never forget in law school was criminal litigation, one of the class activities, charges. The question was kind of tricky, and everybody in the class drafted one charge sheet. I was the only person that drafted 2 charge sheets. The lecturer said they should clap for me. That in a class of 1,000 students, only one person got the correct answer. It was my moment of fame. The next class, the lecturer came and said I was wrong. So I moved from being, popular for the right thing and then being popular for being like, out of 1,000 students, where were you the only person that drafted 2 charge sheets? It was crazy.
So what I would say to someone who's about to write the bar finals is that you have to be very positive, you have to be very optimistic. Your mindset really matters this period, okay? How you think it affects a whole lot in how you write your bar finals. Like, you don't want to go to bar finals thinking that, okay, like, will I mess things up? What if I forget my, the things I've read and all that? So you have to be very positive, be very optimistic. Your mindset, have this very positive mindset. Believe that you're going to ace this bar finals. Believe that all the hard work you've put in over the past couple of months will pay off for you. Just be very positive. Your mindset, the way you think, it matters a whole lot. And then another thing I would say is that try to practice active recall, okay? Because at the end of the day, what matters is how much you can remember and not how much you read. So by all means, find a way to ensure that you remember all the things you read. So practice active recall. Now is the time to focus more on remembering all the things you've read. I believe that by now, you should have almost, if you've not covered the syllabus, at least once or more than once. So now focus more on remembering the things you've read already. And then lastly, I would say you should practice past questions under examinable conditions. And so I think the most memorable moments that I had in law school, I was best student in the class 1 MCQ exam that they did. So they did this pre-bar MCQ that, and then there was going to be an award of the week and gown for the best 2 students. And I was just like, hopefully I'm able to even make top 2 and all that. And then when they were announcing the results, I had the highest score and all that. And it was really, really exciting. It was really, really rewarding. I mean, apart from the fact that I got the wig and gown, it was for me a proof that all the effort I've been put, because I've been practicing lots of MCQs. It was proof that my efforts were paying off and all that. It was really nice. It was really nice. I met a lot of amazing people that period. I mean, I'm also able to teach a lot of other people, just help them out one way or the other. But it shaped my last few days in law school, but it was a really memorable moment.
The first thing I would say is that at the Nigerian Law School, you feel you are not doing enough most of the times. I personally felt that 90% of the time I wasn't doing enough, but then we need to distinguish between the time where that is actually true and when, you are actually not doing enough. And that means you need to assess your progress. So once I feel like that, most times I look at what am I supposed to do, what have I done, what am I yet to do. That allows me to identify my lapses, and then from there on, I try to create active plan towards, bridging that gap. And also, if it needs me to discuss with someone else, I do that. So while you might feel you're not doing enough, first thing, look at what you've done already, see what is left, and then focus on what you need to do to achieve where you want to be.
My mentor told me this when I was in law school during externship. He told me that law school is a place of self-doubt and self-confidence. You have your highs, you have your lows. You have moments where you're like, I'm killing this, I am doing this so well. And you have moments where you're like, what am I doing exactly? Like, what's happening? So I'll just tell you, you have to define, you have to know what is informing that self-doubt. What is informing the self-doubt? Why are you feeling that this is not enough for you? And you think that this is not enough because of comparison, or you think it's not enough because you're not actually doing enough. So you have to define what you do, define yourself, define your process, and know that it is different from other people's process. I'm someone who reads slowly, and I had a friend, I'll mention her name, Chimdi is her name, and she's a fast reader. We did our externship together, and then she would say that she just finished her first reading of all the 5 courses the first time. I'm like, and I've not even done with one. I'm like, what are you doing? So at that point, you may start feeling, if this is your story, you may start feeling like you're not doing so well. But then in actuality that you're actually doing well, but then you're comparing it to another person. So define what's giving you self-doubt, and also then your self-confidence too shouldn't be shouldn't be false self-confidence. It should be actually self-confidence that comes from the fact that you're doing something, not that you're just doing anything and you feel like you've done something when you've not done anything actually. So at the end, just read your books, know what you're doing, and at the end it's going to turn out well. Like I promise you, like you feel like everything is not going well, but then at the end, when you test yourself, you see that you actually did something and what you did was perfect and was good enough.
My dear, you have to move forward. You have to keep moving. You have to keep moving. Think about the glory that comes to the profession. Think about the day of your call to bar shoots. Adding Esquire to your name. Think about the years you have given to the game, right? You're doing enough. Just double down on what you're doing and keep moving forward. Hi everyone, my name is Chisom Ogunando. I'm an associate at Tempest Law Firm Lagos. I graduated from the University of Nigeria with a first-class degree, and I also graduated from the Nigerian Law School Enugu campus with a first-class degree. I emerged the 7th best graduating student out of a set of over 7,000 students, and I am the best graduating student of my campus, Enugu campus. Nothing ever prepares you for law school. When you get there, you go with the flow. You figure out some things like as time goes on. I was very active in the Catholic community as a member of the choir. I won't say because I'm paying for bar finals, I won't go for rehearsal, I won't go for mass. I don't believe in triangle lifestyle. I want to go to church because I've been looking at my book all through. I want to actually look away from the book. And so, right, so all these things help you. Law students, you know how essential money is. Money can make you go from third class to first class. Like, money is super important at law school. No campus, and I want to state it emphatically. So all these Lagos campus people, no campus has a monopoly of first class or BGSs. If you go through history, almost every campus has produced the best graduating students, like overall. So have that at the back of your mind, right? And know that. Don't feel that, oh, you think you would have done better if you're in Lagos, because no. Have an open mind. Law school is one. You can be in Kano and still know what is going on in Lagos, Abuja, Enugu at the same time, right? You don't want to say, oh, I'm only going to listen to Lagos lecturers because of what. No, you can learn anything from any campus, and I think that's what helped me, right? If you understand, like God gives you the grace to understand, and He chooses you, and that wisdom rests on you, I think you can prevail no matter the circumstance, no matter the campus. So have an open mind.
For material, it will be in Mayowa. For a person, it will be my roommate, Valerie Okezie. And God, basically. One topic I feared but I conquered would be the latter topics in corporate law. I think that's where we did all this arrangement and compromise. I had to read them like 5 times. The best mental health tool that worked for me was to take each day at a time. It only gets overwhelming when you analyze everything together. Worrying doesn't solve it. So a day at a time, a second at a time. If I was to partition it, this part of the face will be sad, then the middle will be happy, the next side will be confused, and then the last side will be indifferent. I actually laughed a lot. Like in law school, I felt like everybody just thought that I was a walking human being who was frowning, who was just focused on the goal. But people who saw the other side of me were like, I'm funny and I laugh a lot. I feel like my roommates will testify to this. So yeah.
I think what would surprise people about how I studied was that I read almost anything I came across because I get bored easily if I'm reading one material or one particular thing.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So I made my notes from the slides. I read my textbooks. I read materials. I read Conde Smith. I read Badmoss. I read Kevin.
I don't want peace.
I just wanted to be sure that I'm grabbing information from so many places as possible.
I want problems always.
Though personally I would not recommend, but it's just who I am. I really love it. I call it like doing research because it's like, for me, I want to be able to get information from here and here and here.
I'm telling you.
Even if I'm not reading it in depth, but I want to be able to know what is different here and what's different here, and then, put that knowledge together and have a good understanding of what I'm studying.
That's what I do for you.
Most underrated advice: you'll be fine. A lot of people told me I'll be fine, and it's the most underrated, right? It's the most underrated because you would not believe that you'll be fine. You would not believe that you'll be okay. But yeah, you'll be fine. That I'll be fine. Yes, that was one underrated advice that I got.
You get it? If you don't get it, forget about it.
Maybe sleep better, because the interesting thing was that I was reading, right, and then I would close my books and say I want to sleep. I would not be able to sleep, and so I was sleep deprived, affected my health. There were times that I had to just go to class and I'll be sleeping in class because my schedule was altered in a way that was beyond my own control.
Oh my God.
So yeah, maybe sleep better, taking good care of my health. And yeah, I felt sick on a number of occasions and I had to miss classes. So yeah, sleep better, take care of my health. Best mental health tip that works for me. Take care of your mental health, like listen to yourself, listen to your body. And you're not doing law school and separate from your entire being. You're doing it together. So take care of yourself.
How?
Like tend to every aspect of yourself. Strange things. There's stranger things, right? So this is all these things. Law school. They're so unfamiliar. Lots of things. First day, I would sit on my bed and ease. I was easing a lot because I was tired. My roommates, they know that I'm not a morning person. So the first thing when I wake up is just to sit on my bed and ease because it's another day. Here we go again.
You look okay?
So yeah.
Yes, in law school, I had something that helped me cope with stress. There's this playlist I used to listen to on Spotify where people would come and say inspirational or motivational stuff in form of music or just spoken word poetry or something like that. Just something to keep you going, that you can do it, you can go as far as you want to go. It's all in your mind, stuff like that. So yeah, I had a playlist like that on my Spotify and it really helped me cope because it helped me keep reminding myself that I'm able to achieve anything as long as I set my heart to it and as long as I put in the work and I keep believing. What is one topic I feared but conquered? Honestly, I don't think I feared any topic because I wanted to keep an open mind. I didn't have any topic that scared me. I didn't have any favorite course. I wanted to treat everything equally and give all of them equal attention. If I didn't understand, I would make sure to go over it again. So I don't think I had any topic that really scared me in.
Take time to rest. Everybody just wants to keep pushing, but then there's need to rest, really. And also to eat. I had a particular time for everything. I studied in a very somewhat robotic way. Some people used to call me robots. Given the fact that you could even know the time where I used to eat. Foreign participation under corporate law, I read it like 1 million times, yeah. But I thank God that It's actually a very simple topic. It was food. When I say food, like maybe like some snacks, some provisions and all. But going to get food was also something. So if I had that all around me, I would have been so happy. Tea. Refining.
I think the craziest thing I did during bar finals prep was taking a lot of sugar. I would take carbonated drinks, sweets, just anything that had sugar in it.
God have mercy upon us.
Because a sugar high usually kept me active at night. And yeah, I just wanted to be awake at night and I would just take a lot of sugar, which is crazy and so unhealthy.
Continue.
The emoji that would best describe my law school experience is the crying face emoji, the weary face emoji, the one where it's like, oh, and then the flexed biceps emoji, the one with that shows the muscle, which signifies that there were times I was exhausted and I would cry, and the times that I would be like, when would this be over, which is for the weary face, and the times I would always motivate myself to say, I can do this, because I really always spoke a lot of positive words to myself. So those three would be my emoji to describe my law school experience. If law school were a movie, the name would definitely be Science and Wonders. It would most likely be a Nollywood movie.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Yes.
My name is Oluwatomisin Olawuton. I attended Lagos State University. I graduated with a second class upper. Then I went on to the Nigerian Law School, Port Harcourt, where I graduated with a first class. And I also won the award for second best graduating students at the Nigerian Law School. I was the third best student in corporate law practice. And I received the Director General's Prize for first class. I was the best graduating student in Port Harcourt campus. Before going to law school, I didn't know that law school is kind of difficult. Law school is challenging. Law school is demanding, basically. So, when people reach out to me and ask me like, okay, how did you study? Basically, I just tell them, I just took it one day at a time. I usually would read before the class, and I would pay rapt attention in class and then read after the class again. So it was a continuous cycle every day like that, reading before the class, reading after the class, and paying close attention in class. So that was how I was able to gauge my understanding. And then I would always practice the topic by topic MCQs after class every day. And as much as possible, I always try to answer the class tag on my own to just be sure that, okay, I really understand it, because the task questions contain like an average of 10 to 15 questions for a topic. And so my logic is that if I'm able to answer everything, then I think really understand that question. Basically, I use the lecturer slides a lot. I would pay attention in class. I usually almost rewrite the lecturer slides in my notes. I also made use of Kelvin's material, Mayowa's material. Those two materials were really helpful. Then sometimes I use Badmo's as well. So for MCQs, I basically just practice the MCQs over and over again. It really helped me a whole lot. Talking about topic MCQs, they not only give you the answers, they also give you the reason why the answer is that. For bar finals, we have drafts and then we have theories. For the draft, you just have to draft. You can't read drafts, you just have to write the draft and draft. I drafted a whole lot in law school, and then for the theory part, you just have to read and then practice past questions and try to answer those class tasks. Because I think one of the things I did was that as much as possible, I tried to provide like a very, very robust understanding of each question that was asked. So when answering my question, I made sure that I give the lecturer that, look, I know this thing, so I made sure that I give good answers. As much as possible, I think I also targeted optional questions that I think I would have been able to easily get more marks. And I think another thing I did that stood me out was the fact that I think I was very detailed with my answer, not extremely long, but I wasn't writing so short. I made sure that I gave, reasonable answers, and, there were exceptions. I would also provide the exceptions. Just try to give them a very clear and, concise understanding of what question was being asked. So one thing I would say to you is that see law school as a marathon, not as a sprint. Law school is not as difficult as we painted to be. Is it difficult? Maybe to some extent, but I don't think it's all that difficult, because if you read, you would understand. So take it slowly. Just take it one step at a time. Just make sure that you're understanding each topic as it comes. And also try not to overwork yourself with past questions at the early stage. So the topic I feared the most to be company securities. Yeah, it felt all those shares, debentures, and a lot of other things. All those equity, loans, bonds, all those things. At first, it felt really alien and all that, but I'm glad I was able to conquer it and do very well. Well, I'll call it the adventures of promising or something like that, because my final experience was actually just an adventure, because the first paper being kind of rocky to really getting simpler along the way. I'll just describe it as the adventures because it was really an adventurous experience. The first thing I did every morning when I woke up was basically have my morning devotion. So I'll pray and then I had this devotion where I was reading. So that was basically how I did. Yeah, so if you are feeling overwhelmed or exhausted, I would advise that you rest well. Okay, sometimes being exhausted comes from lack of rest and lack of sleep, right? So you want to rest, get adequate rest, basically. And another thing I would say is that I think you should watch videos on YouTube that can encourage you, that can kind of steer you up and just motivate you, basically. So that's one of the things I did, right? In law school, I watched a lot of young VIP TV videos. I also watched other videos, basically, that people sharing their success story and all that. And there's just a way you can connect with their stories because they face the same struggles like you did, and it helps a lot. I watched a couple of videos, especially people that they didn't get a first class in uni and then they had a first class in law school. There was a way I resonated with their story more.
You need money. Oh. You need money. I did not know. I thought I had money, but I needed more. That will be charges, without a doubt, in criminal litigation. I was seeing charges in my dream, charging. My roommates told me that I was shouting out. But by finals, by God's grace, I conquered it. No, absolutely not. I don't think I would do anything different. Yeah. What I think I would have packed is something intangible, right? More morale. Yeah. You know that emoji that is closing one eye and giving an eye. Exactly. Because yeah. The more you look, the less you see. That's neither. I was on a call for close to 6 hours studying, right? So go on break, come back. I think it was the craziest thing ever. I think people would be surprised if I said that I never did TDB. I never read deep into the night. Yeah, I think if you don't know me, you'll be surprised. But if you know me, you won't be surprised. Yeah. Great.
Ask yourself 3 questions. What is enough? Why do I feel I'm not doing enough? And then, who defines enough? The truth is, at the end of the day, all of us at one point or the other in law school felt like we weren't doing enough. We weren't doing enough reading, we're not doing enough drafting, we're not doing enough MCQs. But the truth in the end of everything is that to each his own. When you ask yourself these questions, you realize 2 things. Either you are truly not doing enough, which is the truth, or you realize that you're doing enough but you're weighing it against other people's standards, which could have some truth in it, but there's also a lie. People are not you. When you own yourself, it's able for you to determine what is enough. But if, like the former, you find out that you're not doing enough, then plan towards it. Re-strategize if you have to. Put in more effort. Cover the ground. And at the end of the day, you need to remind yourself of something. The truth is, you're doing the best you can do at every season. And if you're giving your best, then enough may not be it. It may be more than enough. So when you're put to test is when you actually know how good you are. But in everything, just make sure that at every point in time, you know that when you look back in retrospect, you gave it your best and there was nothing more you could have done better.
I felt the first thing I did every morning at the Nigerian Law School was to go to church with my roommates. We attend Winners Campus Fellowship every morning from Mondays to Fridays, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And each time I went to church, I always felt so much better. I always felt like I could do this. I always felt renewed. I had strength to carry on. And it was such an amazing experience because it was definitely not easy to keep going to church every morning, Mondays to Fridays, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., up until the last day of my exams. From the first day of law school to the last day of my exams, we kept going to church.
I am Daniela Chiso-Mokamba, a double first-class lawyer. I graduated from Babcock University with a first-class honors and also was called to bar in July 10, 2025 from the Nigerian Law School Lagos campus with a first-class honors. I graduated as a third overall best graduating student, having won the awards of Best Student in Civil Litigation, Best Female Student in Civil Litigation, Overall Best Student in Civil Litigation, Director General's Prize for the First Class Student, as well as an award for Third Overall Best Graduating Student. Now, when it came to preparing for bar finals, I will not disregard the role that reading comes into play. It's more than how much you know. It's more about how you are able to write it. I covered grounds with topics that I wasn't familiar with. One, I did more discussions. I went over all that I had read. I started streamlining what I was reading to things that really mattered, and I focused more on retention of what I knew as well as comprehension of what I did not know. Prepare yourself the best way you know you can, and that means all round, mentally, emotionally, academically, physically. Your case is different, and you write your story. So write it the best way you want it to be. And lastly, it will be this: in all things that you do, rest. I mean, the dead don't write backwards. So.
I would say that one, that you should be calm. You should not be anxious at this point in time because you have put in the work and you're about to write the exams, and what you just need to do is to be calm. Think about what you've not yet done. Think of what you need to do to cover up to eventually be fully prepared for the bar finals. The bar finals is simply one of the simplest exams you ever write. This is not the time to be anxious, to fret, or to panic, because it won't help you. Be calm and focus on what you need to do. And also faith in God. Pray that everything works well for you and you do not fall into certain circumstances that might deter your eventual outcome. So keep praying and keep putting in the effort.
My advice to any person who is looking to write the bar finals is that have trust in your preparation. You've done so much, you've done so well for yourself. Just have faith in your preparations and trust that God will crown your efforts.
A message I would give to someone who is about to write the bar finals would be: you've come this far, you can go further. Do not relent on what you've been doing. Dot your I's and cross your T's. Try to rest enough, because it's a rested brain that can give out the best. And above everything, put your faith in God. He saw all that you did. Your labor of love will not be in vain.
You should stop being nervous, right? Stop being tense. Don't put yourself under any unnecessary pressure. And know you've read. What you've read is enough. Just keep on revising, making sure that what you know, you truly know. And what you don't know, you strive to know. And write well. Write legibly, please. I think people don't usually see this, but write clearly, write well, and pray. God will take control, right?
At this point, I will tell the person not to stress it. Start streamlining your reading, start learning your principles and your sections and your key cases, lean into your friends and your study groups, and rest. Sleep is non-negotiable. You need to sleep, you need to rest, so you have a relaxed mind when you enter the bar finals exam. And also you need to pray, because to take care of any other eventualities that may happen in the hall. So with this, I'm sure that you're going to come out in flying colors.
Believe in yourself no matter what. Just know that you've got this. You've prepared, you've read, you've done all the pre-class tasks. Pray, and it'll come to pass.
You would hear your lecturers say that bar finals is the easiest exam you would ever write. You will not believe them right now, but as someone who has written bar finals, I can confirm to you that it truly is. I'll say that frankly, bar finals is easy. It is an easy exam. You just have to honor these preparations you're putting in, and whatever background you came from in uni, right? Whatever grade you made, there are people that have gone to law school with that, and came out well. So you will do the same, and you will succeed. You will excel. You'll make a first class.
So the message will be quite short, straight, and simple, and it's be very calm. Do as much revision as possible. Clear up your principles as much as possible. Settle any frayed nerves that you're having, and ultimately, just even when you're about to enter that hall, or even whilst you're in the hall, just really, really be calm. Take your questions one at a time. If you can afford reading 1-2 times, just read it enough, digest it before writing, ensure you are clear on what you want to write before you start writing. Imbibe the culture of resting properly. Take proper care of your health. If you have any underlying health condition, do not ignore it. Ensure you take your drugs. Do not skip meals. Do not skip your drugs because you feel your drugs will make you sleep, because ultimately, is someone that can even keep a semblance of sanity that can write the bar final. So rest well, eat well, read well, and pray well, ultimately.
For my bar final prep, I actually doubled down on past questions. I solved past questions a lot. And I saw that some persons have an approach to past questions that is in some ways wrong, right? Bar finals is an exam that you are going to write. You're not going to read them. So for some persons, they'll just look at the past questions. Oh, okay, I know the answer to this question. I know the answer to this question. Oh, the exam is really simple. But that's not how it works. Trust me. By the time you do that, you go into the hall, you'd see that writing is actually a different thing than actually knowing, right? You may know and you may not be able to really write well for a variety of reasons. So what I did a lot was that I actually took up past questions, read through the questions, timed myself. I would put on my clock, I would time myself, and then I would write as if I was in a hall. In fact, I could physiologically feel like I was in a hall when I did that, because of course all the emotions would be rising. Say, oh my God, I'm actually writing bar finals. So that's what I really did a lot of closer to the exams. And I also looked at the class tasks a lot. Instead of picking up bulky materials, instead of going through materials from the very beginning to the end of a topic, what I did was that I had my class tasks, right? There was a Microsoft Word document that I had for each course. And for each course, I itemized the class tasks from the first topic to the very last topic. And for each of those questions in those topics, I would make a comment. If you are very good with Microsoft Word, you understand what I mean. I would make a comment on that particular question. I'll write down the answer, the principle, and then of course the authority. So what I did was that I would just pick up that document. I will start going through the topics, right? From number 1, okay, what was this question? Okay, what was the answer? I would mentally mentally answer the questions and give myself the authority. And if I could not do that, I would just open the comments and then look at the authority and say, okay, this is the authority for this question, this is the authority for this question. And then from there, I would make sure that I had a grasp of, that entire topic. And of course, I also stopped just generally reading. I was thinking of the areas that I felt I was not good in enough. Maybe the courses that were giving me an issue, or a particular topic that I had not been able to get a firm understanding of. And those were the areas that I doubled down on and made sure that, okay, I had a very, very good grasp of them. So that was basically my approach to bar finance, making sure that for each topic in each course, I had a very good understanding of, the likely questions from that topic. Of course, if you go through your class tags, those questions cover the entire topic. Any topic you pick up a class tags on, you see that it covers the entire topic. So that's what I did, and I think it was a good way to approach bar finance, and that was basically my approach. Yeah.
So what I would say to someone who's about to write the bar finals is that you have to be very positive, you have to be very optimistic. Your mindset really matters this period, okay? How you think, would affect a whole lot in how you write your bar finals. Like, you don't want to go to bar finals thinking that, okay, like, will I mess things up? What if I forget my, the things I've read and all that? So you have to be very positive, be very optimistic. Your mindset, have this very positive mindset. Believe that you're going to ace this bar finals. Believe that all the hard work you've put in over the past couple of months would pay off for you. Just be very positive. Your mindset, the way you think, matters a whole lot. And then another thing I would say is that try to practice active recall, okay? Because at the end of the day, what matters is how much you can remember, not how much you read. So by all means, find a way to ensure that you remember all the things you read. So practice active recall. Now is the time to focus more on remembering all the things you've read. I believe that by now you should have almost, if you've not covered the syllabus at least once or more than once. So now focus more on remembering the things you've read already. Just ask. You can do this by practicing past questions repeatedly, and then also asking your friends, group discussions, just asking yourself questions just to test how much you can remember. And then lastly, I would say you should practice past questions under examinable conditions. Now, people practice past questions, they are reading the question and they are answering in their head. But it doesn't work that way, right? Reading is different from writing. So you want to actually write it down, because in the exam, you are going to write exams. You are going to actually write it down. So you want to start practicing how that will play out in the exam, and you time yourself. I'm not talking about practice where you're practicing and then if you don't know the answer, you're checking your book. Like you time yourself like you're actually in the exam mode and try to practice under that condition as if you're in the same exam mode. Limited time, no external source to check for. Just, and how fast you can write in that short time. So, and I believe that you do just fine. I'm rooting for you.
I will say that the most important things, in my opinion, are drafts, MCQs, and tasks. You have to practice drafts. You cannot read drafts, like no matter how much reading you do, you have to actually practice the drafts, because drafts are marked sort of line by line, right? They pay attention to structure and all those things. So you have to make sure that you're actually practicing the drafts and knowing them as they are, right? Drafts is not a test of knowledge, it's a test of remembrance. So please practice your drafts. MCQs. I practice MCQs so much that I got to a point where on a bad day, I'm finishing my MCQs in 40 minutes. That's because of how much MCQs I practiced. I was practicing, I was timing myself, but also my MCQ notes was super detailed. So every time I would do MCQs, I would take note of every topic I'm failing and I would go back to revise it. I read theory past questions a lot to achieve three main things: to understand how questions are typically asked and typically structured, to familiarize myself with the way or with my expectation of questions in the exams, but also to see in the marking schemes how questions are typically answered. One practical advice I would give is that you should have a goal, especially if you're going to be writing your bar exams soon. Have a goal. For your MCQs, tell yourself, I can make 18 over 20, or the least I can make is a 15 over 20. or the least I can make is even a 20/20. It's doable, right? I know of someone that I watched her story on Young VIP TV who said she answered only 10 questions in her property law practice and she made a first class. 10 questions and she was still able to make a first class. So anything is doable. You just have to not give up. Keep going. You can do this, and I believe in you.